This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hold on, stop. Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill. You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.
What is going on, and welcome to Take on the World with
Yanni
and
Chase from Barrel Age Flicks.
And Mike D. So we have a guest all the way from down south.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your show.
Well, I'm Chase. I'm on Barrel Age Flicks, where we're matchmakers for booze and movies. We review both of them on each episode. Have a good time. It's mostly just four guys bullshitting and talking shit to each other and vaguely reviewing movies. I'm from just about everywhere you can imagine, if you want to put it that way. But I'm down here in Virginia. Been in this area for the last 20 years ish, something like that. And with ADHD comes many pretty well explored interests in just about everything you can imagine.
All right.
Nice.
So that
Do you have the
sums me
socials
up.
for BAF?
Oh, yeah. So we are on Instagram. We got a Facebook page and all that on Instagram. It's Barrel Age Flicks Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, pretty much anywhere you can find any other podcast. You can listen to us. We just opened up our YouTube Music account as well. So you can find us on there too. And don't forget Barrel Aged Chicks, because they'll hunt me down if I forget about them. You can find them just about anywhere as well.
And if you go to Barrel Age Chicks or Barrel Age Flicks, you can go back a couple episodes, and I was just on both of them not too long ago, so you get like a triple dose of Mike D. Take on the World is a proud part of Deluxe Edition Network. To check out all the great podcasts on the network, go to www.deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Check them all out. There's something there for everybody. While you're at the website, you're going to want to check out the podcast of the month. The Stephen Crypto Show podcast is a Rondo Award-nominated podcast that covers pop culture, horror, featuring great interviews, conversations, special guest segments with creators, entertainments from all mediums, while keeping a sense of humor. Go to coffeebros.com and use TOTW10 for a discount at checkout. Coffee Brothers sources seasonal, award-winning, and specialty coffees, focusing on high-scoring and high-quality blends, espresso roasts, and single-origin coffees, which are all small-batch roasted. Experience complex taste notes from fragrant and aromatic to bold and rich. Coffee Brothers Coffee is a two-person brother team, hence the name. They roast all of their coffees in small batches out of their New York City roastery. Go to coffeebros.com and use TOTW10 for a discount at checkout.
Ooh,
Yeah, we were. What was the last? What was it we reviewed together? Oh no, we did the top 5 sexiest nude scenes or something like that, right?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. That was
I
a
did
fun
ask
one.
you what they were too.
Yeah.
You gave me the rundown, and I was so glad that, because we had this discussion years ago about Jamie Lee Curtis and
Yes.
Halloween.
Yeah. He corrected me.
It's the most what would they call that where you
The Mandela effect.
Yes, thank you. Because even I thought it too. I'm like, no way. And then I watched it's like, oh my God.
And I should know better because horror's my jam.
That is your.
And so just so you know, Chase, your video is a little fuzzy.
Yeah, I might
choppy.
go ahead and cut that just so we get better quality audio.
Well, make sure you put a pretty picture up there because we do video because everybody wants to see this.
Uh-oh.
I mean, we don't want to disappoint all 4 of our viewers.
Well, let's see what all 4 of them.
Yeah, all 4 of them. And sometimes that 5th one jumps on and just is upset if they don't see this.
Now, though, like, I don't understand, like, how you post one video and you get the shorts, and all of a sudden you get, like, thousands of views, and then one thing, it's like nothing.
It's like fickle. So,
yeah.
So, we're here today to do a redux, if you will, of our very first Take on the World episode.
Oh, stupid. Can we like throw in some audio of how horrible?
Oh, it was bad, guys. I know. I gave it a listen. It was rough. It sounds like it was recorded on old analog cassette.
Oh, it was so bad. It was,
and I convinced myself it wasn't that bad.
I kept trying to be nice and like telling him, like, Mike, I'm like the audio.
It sounds like you're in a wind tunnel, Mike.
Audio kind of not there.
I mean, you could probably actually I could share. I got a macro that normalizes audio really nicely through Audacity. If you guys want to try and re-upload it with that macro, I'll share it with you.
I'm gonna let those old ones rest. And
wait, but that could be kind of awesome.
But here's
if we just hear like what we actually were saying,
remaster, if you will,
a remaster. Like I was probably fucking drunk. No, I think that's the only one I was sober for. I was like, I want to do a good job on this. This is my thing.
Yeah, we were real excited about the first, but what we did when we started, we taped 3 a night, and we didn't post anything until we had 7 good episodes.
Is that what we were doing?
Yeah. So we each picked a topic, and we did that.
Like, I'll give this guy all the credit right here. Like, I just show up, I talk into this microphone, and that's all I got to do. He edits everything, puts other than I'll give him topics now and then, but you do all the editing, all that other stuff, and I would not even know where to begin to do any of that.
Well, I love researching, so.
And you're handy with computers, so.
So our first episode was supposed to be cryptids in general, and we narrowed it down to Bigfoot.
Right.
I think one was the Vietnam War, and it turned into a bash session.
Well, actually,
of
that
someone
one
I didn't like.
That one. No,
like
it was
hour and a half.
Flat Earth was one of our first ones that we taped, and
oh god,
we actually tried to tape that one 3 times, and there's 2 in the trash that we've never pulled out.
They were just.
I don't think did we ever do Flat Earth ever?
If we did, it was not. It was on the old. Yeah, I would say no.
There's a soundbite on our opening about Flat Earth, but I just pulled the soundbite out because I liked it. Everything else, I think, is in the trash. Because by the 3rd one, we were pretty rocked.
It's all about having fun, right? I mean,
yeah, we used to do multiple movie reviews a night. I remember one we did Repo the Genetic Opera, and I got pretty
I actually love that episode.
It's fantastic. I had a great time. The drink was amazing. She brought these IV bags as the drink, filled with this cranberry fruit juice deliciousness, and I had like 3 or 4 of them, and I was fucking hammered. And then we started Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and I was so fucked up that I apparently threw something across the table, and it may or may not have hit the soundboard. It may or may not have ruined the recording. And that's the origin of my call sign. Yeah, of my little signature. Fuck you, Chase.
Oh,
so
I was wondering where that came from.
That's how that started.
So when I listened to Repo, I had never seen the movie. So that's what I like about Barrel Age Flicks is sometimes you guys talk about a movie I haven't seen for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
A movie either I liked or didn't like, and I listen to you guys and you bring some stuff up, and I'll go back and rewatch a movie, which is great because I love watching movies. But I watched Repo then, and I had a differing opinion on some things, but to the most part, I agree with most of what you guys said on the movie. But it was cool just watching a movie that I'd never seen before, even if it wasn't like this top-notch thing. But there were some cool things in the movie that I liked.
And so I started as a big fan of barrel aged flicks because I was working at Firestone as a service advisor, and Sammy would come in, and so would Ron, and they'd get their truck worked on, and they totaled their old pickup. Like the rear diff had blown apart, and they had no way to get the toolbox home because they didn't have another big car. So I was like, I tell you what, I'll throw it in the back of my SUV. I'll bring it home when I'm off of work, and I'll take care of you guys. And so we got to talking after that, and we hung out. And actually, the first night we hung out was because of that. And I had already been listening to the episodes, and that was really what I liked about it because, at the time, I was not cinematically learned, if you will. I had not yet seen the original It, and I'd be listening to these episodes, and that's when I finally watched the movie for the first time, was after listening to that episode about It. But that's really an effect they have. It's like they review a movie, or we review a movie that you've just never heard of or never seen before, and you're like, son of a bitch, this sounds like it'd be awesome, and you just want to go watch it. So I love being a part of that now. But the very first night we all hung out, like we just ended up talking about ghosts and cryptids and all that for like 4.5 hours. We finally came home. It was like 2 a.m. So
that's awesome.
We had a good time.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about, like, if a podcast can make me interested in something, that's one I continue to listen to. And I've listened to so many of the Barrel Age Flicks and Barrel Age Chick shows. It's like during the summer, I just put my earbuds in and I mow.
I just go.
And just crush the episodes, right?
Yeah. So
yeah. And Ron takes such pride in his work. He edits most of the episodes himself. And so we pulled together a bunch of money getting the audio equipment and stuff like that, and he puts so much time into it. Like, we all give him shit, but we gotta recognize just how much effort he puts into it, because that's his baby.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot of effort. That's what I say about Mike too.
When we finally got this pod track, or the Zoom pod track, that's when our audio really, once we plugged it in and we started listening.
I remember the first night.
I was like, "Oh my god, this sounds so good!"
Like, listen to this, man.
He's right.
We're like, "Holy crap!" Like, it sounds so much better.
Oh my god, we were shit. No wonder nobody listened to us.
In fact, I think we're looking at the old one over there.
It's over there in the corner,
where it should be.
Gaining
in the
cold
corner of shame.
Yeah, I won't even put it on Marketplace because I don't want to shame anybody else.
I tried to give that thing away, and nobody wanted it.
You got to get super famous, and then you can sell your old equipment and sign it. That's how you got to do
it. I think I could be Joe Rogan famous, and I couldn't give that away.
You gotta gain that Johnny Cash status, and then you can sign your old equipment and sell it.
Maybe if I sign it now, then die, it might be worth something.
Oh God, yo, I like some of the memorabilia you guys got behind you. Is that? Hold on, do I see the barrel of an AK?
Yes, you do. That's a vodka bottle. That's a vodka bottle.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
That whole thing's glass.
Whole thing's glass. Yeah, I got that in Maryland.
That's dope.
I got this in Panama.
Yeah, it started off as a beer can wall,
and now slowly the beer cans are going, and I'm getting more and more stuff.
Yeah, so all the beer cans you see there are beers that we did reviews on, and they were probably like, I don't know, 2-3 minute reviews.
Well, like 10, 15.
Okay, 10, 15
yeah,
minutes.
That's what we usually do.
Pretty much like an excuse for us to tie one on and then, hang out a little bit. And then we started getting super popular, right? And that's when all the memorabilia started coming in.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I just clued in. That's a TARDIS door behind you. That's what that is. Are
What?
you a Whovian too?
Oh, yes, I am. I built a TARDIS for my son.
That's fucking badass, man. That's awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
It was for his 10th or 12th birthday.
Yeah.
And I got the plans, and it's 90% scale. And I'm reading on these forums, these guys, they take a year to build these things. And I built it in 30 days. And I took it to a show, and a guy had a TARDIS there, and when I was tearing it down, I made the whole thing modular so I could just tear it down in pieces. And he goes, "How the hell did you do that?" He goes, "I have to move this whole thing by itself." And I'm like, "Well, I just kind of figured it out. I sleeved it all together." And he goes, "Oh my God, I wish I could do that with mine. It's such a pain in the ass to move." Yep. So the rest of it's sitting up in a garage. It hasn't been together in years.
I got you. Oh, that's cool shit.
Somebody
like
saw.
that.
I had it set up in the front yard for one of my son's birthday parties. Someone was driving by, put a note on our door. They were getting mad. He was going to propose to his wife, and they're both Whovians. And he asked if he could rent it to set it up to propose to her. So he did this whole scavenger hunt thing.
Yeah.
And that was the end, where she opened the TARDIS door. It had a little TARDIS in it. It was a little TARDIS box. She opened up and the ring was in it.
So you rented
That's
it out?
fucking
Twice.
awesome.
That's fucking that's cool.
They
as
rented
shit,
it for
man.
they rented it for their reception too.
Wow.
All
And I
right,
said,
so let it be known.
It's my son's. It's my son's.
Yeah.
Deal with him.
What are the odds? You drive down some country road and like, you're a goddamn TARDIS. You gonna let me rent that?
That's cool as shit.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
So,
Knew you for 16 years and you're still hiding secrets. This guy.
so John, do you mind if I call you John or Jonathan? Do you prefer?
Do not call me Jonathan, or I will have to befriend you or unfriend you.
I will have to befriend you.
No, no, just John or Johnny's fine. Everybody calls me
Okay,
Johnny.
that works.
Johnny Juice Box.
So,
Yeah.
so I hear that you have had a bit of an obsession in the paranormal, or is this just a passing interest that you kind
I
of?
would say, yeah. No, I could say it's a bit of a obsession, a daydream thing that I do all day.
I got
Yeah,
you.
especially Bigfoot. Yeah, no, it's just been I was into the Bigfoot before people were into Bigfoot. Now you see the signs on people's cars, which is cool.
Right.
But it's like, are you just doing it to be cool, or like, are you really like? Do you have questions like I do?
Yeah.
Have you seen some
So
shit?
what started you down the rabbit hole, if you will?
I probably have always been a believer in like ghosts. I would say that might have sparked my interest, and then so I've always believed in the fringe stuff. So it's not a one-off for me to believe in, a Bigfoot, especially with all the area we have around here. And then, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself right now, but because I can go off on a tangent. But there's just, I feel like a lot of, why wouldn't there be? Why couldn't there be?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It reminds me of
absolutely could be.
Les Stroud. He says, there's two questions you can ask. It's do you believe in Bigfoot? And you can sound like a nutcase when you say that, or you can propose a question as, do you think that North America has the environmental capability to support the life and habits of a large hominid? And the answer is always yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I feel like we're just gonna like fire right into this, because I gotta ask this question. Is, if you look at history and all like Native American cultures, and not even Native, we'll take Native American culture, other countries' cultures, and they all say the same thing. Like there is that hairy man lives in the woods, hard to find.
Yep.
Whatever may be the case, and it's kind of hard to dispute that. Like when I look at it, and these people are not like you go to a native reservation or something, and they're like, we take this seriously.
Yeah.
Like, don't mess
So
around.
I'm part Choctaw, and my reservation that I hail from is in Oklahoma, Edmond, Oklahoma. And one of the stories that we have was it was not very long. I want to say it was 1850. That the story is the I want to say his name was Francis. He was his father was English or colonial. His mother was Choctaw. So, but basically there was a period of time where they were experiencing theft of their sheep or pig every once in a while. Over the course of like 3 weeks, it turned out they were getting one piece of livestock stolen every 3 days. And it started to progress to the point where a child and another full-grown man were both taken. And so they actually put together, I think it was like 13 or 18 people for a war party and went off for a few days to chase this thing down. And supposedly they killed 3 and lost 4 of their own in this fight before they gunned them all down. But when they showed up and actually found them, there was just a pile of bones and bodies that these things had amassed. And so that's part of the bit of the folklore, of that we hear on the native side. And then you go to the Cherokee, and they talk out before the Trail of Tears, when they were still living in the southeastern of the United States. Their traditions speak of hairy man of the wild, that it wasn't just a phenomena, it was that they would trade with on a fairly regular basis. Yeah. Like it was never the kind of trading where you could talk with them, but you could truly exchange goods with the hairy man. And of course the word Sasquatch is actually, it's a westernization of the term Saskatch. That was another, I think it was actually a northeastern tribe word for Bigfoot. And you were talking before, there's so many different styles, up in the north, the southern region of Canada, there's a tribe there, they call them Oma, which means, I think it translates to guardian of the mountain, stuff like that. These are stories that predate any of the westernization of the North America. So it's really intriguing when you go down. Go ahead.
Let me jump into just a little of my research that ties into this. Yeah. And because I'm a skeptic, one of the things that does kind of bang inside my brain, that no matter where you are in the world, there is a creature that meets this description, and they have a name for it. Like you said, the Pacific Northwest is a Sasquatch. In the Himalayas, it's a Yeti. In Florida, they call them skunk apes. In Australia, it's a Yowie. In Mongolia, it's an
they're
Almas.
fucking aggressive. And then you have the Yeren, all kinds of stuff.
Yep. That's in China.
And I would certainly argue that they're definitely not all the same thing. But I would say it's arguable that they were
the same species, because the definition, the description of them is very similar.
Oh, they're very different. Actually,
I think it's striking that I can't dismiss all accounts of what do these people, what what do people have to gain from? And we said this before with the alien stuff. What do you have to gain by telling a lie and making this whole thing up? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, especially when they were just being talked about. It was nothing but being ostracized from society when you came out about it. But when I was talking about the differences, like, so you have the Yowie in Australia, and there's actually 3 different versions of the Yowie, or subcategories, if you will. Like up in the northern part of Queens, that's damn it, I wish I actually did the research now because I can't remember what they're called. But there's 3 different subcategory names of these, and the ones up in the northern area of Queens are talked to be 9 to 12 feet tall. Like these things are ridiculously tall, and
I think
so you get to like
too, between like midgets to like super tall, like you said, 11 feet tall.
Yeah,
there's little
and then
people they talk about.
The southeastern regions of Australia, that other subcategory of the Yowie there, they max out at 6 foot, but all of the Yowie that are reported in Australia are highly aggressive. But even in North America, you have the Sasquatch seen in the Pacific Northwest, like you were talking about, and they actually have a.
I think if you're from, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, they sent all the criminal Yetis to Australia.
Just if you're from Australia,
with the rest of them, right?
You're pretty much aggressive to begin with.
You have to be to live in that
default.
environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Smoke out, you son of a bitch.
Up in the Pacific Northwest, you have the Sasquatch sightings you have there they're much stockier and wider built, and you're going to see them between 7 and 8 foot. 6 to 8.5 foot tall. Whereas over here on the East Coast, you'll see them about 7 foot to 10 foot. And they're a little bit more lanky and tend to be much more aggressive. I say aggressive. Anyone listening to the podcast, I'm air quoting aggressive. Because the most you're going to really see up in North American regions is the display of rock throwing. And generally speaking, they're not throwing it at you, they're throwing it around you to try like just scare you off because they want nothing to do with you. Whereas in the Pacific
that is one
Northwest,
of the things I saw in my research, the rock throwing.
Yeah,
right. And up in the Pacific Northwest, they'll just kind of stay to themselves.
I think we can all, you and I can agree that maybe not so like that. Generally, worldwide, this is accepted. There is something of a hairy ape that we don't know what the hell it is. The ranges in size. Might be aggressive, might be not, but it's reported all over the world, right?
Oh yeah.
So, help me out here, Mike.
Well, go ahead, because I have some questions.
Well, I was trying to figure out which way I want to go with this because, I always seem like the lack of video footage.
That's what bothers me.
Again, then I have my own thoughts on that is, okay, maybe there's some interdimensional being that doesn't want to be bothered with. They even have like the Native Americans saying that they don't want to be bothered with. Don't mess with them. Leave them alone.
Personally, I find it very hard to subscribe to that. I know that there's a lot of people that claim, they call, the interdimensional Sasquatch, or they have cloaking abilities, or that, they have what they like to call mind speak instead of telepathy. And it seems we're all here talking about cryptids, and you're going to hear me say this and kind of scoff, and that's okay. But I try to approach everything at a very scientific mind. But to me, a Sasquatch is flesh and blood. For so many people to have experienced them, it's got to be flesh and blood.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
So why would they have superpowers? It's very strange. I don't want to discount a bunch of people's claims, but it's very, very hard for me to get on board with.
I've never looked at them having superpowers, but it's just every once in a while there's a crossover. This is how I view it. There's a crossover a different dimension that we can't always see. You know how like a dog will be sitting there barking at something.
Oh, my dog barks at everything.
It fucking sees something there that ain't there. And they're like, well, is that a ghost or something? Maybe it can see something that we can't, or obviously it is, or in that glimpse of whatever it is, you're out in the woods
Now,
and you see that thing.
on the other podcast that I'm on, which is Berks County Unsolved Deluxe Edition with Casey, one of the unsolved cases that we were looking at, one of the key things in it was the next door neighbor's dog, who was not known as a barker. When the homicide was taking place and days before, this dog was barking at something that it saw or sensed that, and I'm not saying it was supernatural, I'm saying it felt that someone was there lurking or in the bushes or whatever. And this dog had this sense from inside the house that it was barking at whatever this was, whoever this person was out there. And
Man,
I know
I totally believe
our white devil barks 5 minutes before my wife even gets home.
dogs can sense.
Right. And I
stuff
think
that we
they're
can't
just a
see.
lot more tuned into things, you know.
Right, their sense. I mean, look, they can a bloodhound can smell you from 25 miles away.
Nah, not 25 miles.
They can hunt you down.
Nah, just put a little paprika on
Why
the
are my hands
ground.
pinched like this?
I don't
I'm
know.
Italian.
Because you're Italian
Yeah,
now.
hi, they can hunt you down.
Yeah, what are you
know what I'm
talking about, eh?
Now you've insulted Italian people. We're going to lose one of our listeners. We're down to 3.
I mean, geez, I don't even know how you want to break this down. Where you want to go? My mind is.
I get what you're saying. I
my
understand
mind's
what
like
you're saying.
racing right now. Like I can talk
Yeah.
about so many different.
But I think it's what you're talking about is a heightened sense. Heightened senses, not so much superpowers.
Yeah, no, I don't think they can like shoot spaghetti out of their hands. You know.
There's our other listener.
But you know, maybe they can cross that path in between. I don't know where in my life that I thought there was different dimensions, but I do believe that. I do believe there's shit that we can see, we can't see, like ghosts, paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
People that don't pass on to the next life, that wander and don't have a purpose in life, and you know, there's just too much stuff that I've seen, I've heard my really good friends tell me about, like the stuff that I've heard very close family members tell me about, and it's like, why would they tell me that? Like, I can't dismiss that. You know, it's just
Right.
it's creepy. Like, you know, like so there's
When it comes
Yeah, go
to
ahead.
paranormal, like ghosts and spirits, I personally, I don't subscribe to the different dimension aspect. So there's a theory in quantum physics. It's a good bridge to. It shows a possible scientific explanation. Stephen Hawking brought up the idea of a quasar life form long ago. I want to say back in the early 90s or late 80s, and this is the concept of just intelligent energy. Now, this wasn't saying that, this thing exists. It was more of a thought experiment. But the idea is, our understanding of life is very limited to carbon-based life forms. And there's a very good possibility that somewhere in the cosmos, there could just be energy floating around that happens to be able to think.
That I believe.
Right. And so you could have this kind of a life form floating around actually in space, no need in atmosphere. But it was further developed upon when we started experimenting with quantum computation or quantum computers. And they found is when they have a quantum operating, they usually degrade within seconds. At least it used to. Now they can get them up like an hour or 2 hours of operation, which is really cool. But it comes down to, we figured that the human brain functions very similar to a quantum computer, just the way that it processes data. And what we're seeing with quantum computers being used, or Q chips as we call them, when the chip itself degrades and becomes no longer functional, through measurements that they're taking in the surrounding area, they're noticing that a lot of that organized data or organized electrical charge continues to change in the expected manner that they would believe it would within the chip itself after the chip had degraded. So it's kind of this idea that if the human brain degrades or is no longer capable of supporting thought and consciousness, then it is possible, if we function close enough to a quantum computer, those computations, if you will, or consciousness, would continue in the surrounding media just like a quantum computer does, which could give rise to a quasar life form, i.e.,
Okay.
the spirit.
Which would give life to a flash of a presence or a ghost or a seeing or sighting of something.
I got to take a quick break.
I was actually just about to say the same thing. I don't know if we wanted to pause for it.
You want to? Oh, I just got manhandled. No, for lack of a better understanding of the what I said of as damn it, what did I say? Different, not reality,
interdimensional dimensions.
Interdimensional. I just say that because I don't know any other way to describe it. But what you
right,
said,
I see what you mean.
Shit, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I could totally, and that might be my new something to look into. And I mean, I don't know. I'm spit on a rock. I don't know anything.
I mean, none of us have the answers.
No, it's just I refuse to sit here and be like, nope. Well, all these, and I hate to say it, you got a lot of people they believe in God, but they don't believe in Bigfoot. You believe in this, but you don't believe in that. Like anything's possible. Okay.
Yeah.
And I love daydreaming about it. I think it's totally possible, and well, I'll tell you when Mike gets back here. I've had two kind of like crazy like experiences when I went out west.
Yeah.
And as well, I've heard you've had your own experience, so to speak.
I've had a fair amount, which honestly is which is weird because I would never consider myself sensitive, or as a lot of people describe themselves as experiencers, if you will. Because I know when you get into the paranormal field, you can hear the term sensitive being thrown around, and quite frankly, I do believe in that because people that seem to be a little bit more in touch with the paranormal or just in touch with things more spirituality wise, they tend to have more experiences. Now, on the flip side of that, you could potentially, for the sake of science, attribute that to possibly mental illness.
Oh, Michael, stop it. Stop, Michael. Stop.
Or it is someone who's genuinely more in touch with the spiritual world and...
Oh, good. That's what you get.
Breaking shit, man.
I didn't see that. It just fell over. It's paranormal.
That's what he gets.
But
my dog had to go out.
Some people talk about how if you're a sensitive like that, you're kind of like a beacon. And, spirits and things like that will kind of find themselves drawn to you if you're in the area. And so you will be more likely to experience.
Well, yeah,
I don't have the answer to that. Yeah, but it seems viable. Yeah.
You just want to hold this thought for 1 second? I'll be right back.
How can you leave in the middle of a podcast? That's so rude, unprofessional.
Yeah, Mike. I mean, wait.
Am I?
So I had a couple Bigfoot questions real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Bigfoot is singular and plural. So it's not big feet, it's Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Well, I know some bitches got big feet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
So, and this is not a joke question. I really want to know this. If you have a group of Bigfoot, what are they called? Like
they're called a troop.
A troop. Okay.
A troop.
I really
just
wanted
like
to know that. 'Cause-
Yep, just like a troop of chimpanzees. They're
Okay.
considered a troop. Or some people just call them a family group or a family unit.
Hey, did you ever get into the David Paulides stuff?
That sounds very familiar.
You take Pilates?
I know the name.
It's he did the missing 411.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Got into that a little bit.
I think that's where a lot. Now I can't tell. He's a little weird in the aspect that,
To be fair, most of us in this field are.
well, sure, yeah. But I think when he first started off, I have all 3 of his books. He's got more now, but his 3 original books, they're called Missing 411, and they got maps detailed, and just cases of people that went out into the wilderness and just fucking disappeared. Right. And he would never say what he thought it was.
Yeah.
And then now I can't tell now if he's just like some kind of quack or what. His videos kind of suck now. But when it's just, I'm kind of up in the air, but I know when he first started, it was really, really, and like the cases aren't false. And
no, they're well documented.
Very well documented. And they're like people that, okay, so I'll give you one that kind of freaked me out is, this guy went up to Mount Shasta in, I forget.
Mount Shasta is so fucked when it comes to anything paranormal.
Right.
There is
that California or Washington? I forget.
I think that's Washington State.
So, this like guy who's climbed Mount Shasta a bunch of times, no big deal. It's not an easy hike, but he's done it like 15 times. He's probably in his early 60s. Takes like 2-3 of his friends. Let's go hike Mount Shasta together. It's snowy. There's Crater Lake, I think, is beside Mount Shasta.
Yep.
And he hikes up. They get to a stopping point, a resting point, and the guy says, "I'm going to hike up to the next stopping point. I'll see you guys when you get there." His friends are like, "We're going to take a rest." All right, cool. We'll meet up at the next stopping point. His friends get up to the next stopping point, and the guy's gone. He's completely disappeared. There's no tracks. There's no clothes. There's none of his hiking gear. I think they might have found like one item of his, if that. I don't even think they found anything. And they sent out a search party. They dove into Crater Lake and never found the guy. Just missing to this day. Just disappeared like that. Boom.
So Mount Shasta is absolutely infamous for damn near everything paranormal. You have reports that go from Bigfoot and Dogman, which, for the record, great topic. I'd love to dive into that here in a little bit. But is also the dumbest name for any cryptid I've ever heard. I can't even take it seriously when you call it Dogman. So, to UFOs and aliens, first, second, and third type encounters. There's flying humanoids. People report seeing pterosaurs flying over Mount Shasta. Like, there is a ridiculous amount of just, quite frankly, fuckery, if you want to put it that way, over that whole mountain. So,
and I think this might go back to when you said, "Where did I get my Bigfoot start?" And this has got to be it. The Missing 401 by David Paulides. Although he never said Bigfoot, I've always had an open mind, but reading into this, I was like, holy shit. And then I started watching videos, and damn it, there was one, I should have written this down, but I thought I could remember it off the top of my head. So I'll shoot from the hip here. But it was in some national forest, because that's where all these things seem to happen, is some national forest. But I want to say it was on the East Coast, maybe Ohio somewhere. Anyways, this family goes out with their kids. Kid goes missing.
they were out. He was at a picnic. His dad walked down to the creek, and he was just fucking gone. Right?
Well, there's many like that. There's a ton like that. But in this particular case, they looked up on top of the hill and they saw this hairy man with what looked to be a kid slung over his shoulder, like running through the woods. And they're yelling to him. And you got to look this up, man. I swear to God. And that's what the family reported. We saw this, like, it looked like a black bear or a bear, like with a young child slung over its shoulders. The kid's crying. We're yelling at the thing, and it's running on the crest of the hill away from them. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly, like the military launches some like a search and rescue where they had green berets, guys with like the whole like just weird shit. Like, why would you have them here with like night vision goggles, like fully loaded out? And then they just, that's it. That's all you hear about it. It's like, just doesn't.
So that's one of the things that I always like to talk about is, you know, we talk about Bigfoot and all this. And if you're into Bigfoot, you probably have a conspiracy theory or two, but a lot of people overlook the idea of the Bigfoot logging conspiracy. And that's the idea that, okay, nobody has defined these things, but, is the concept that the United States government and military are fully well aware of Bigfoot Sasquatch. You can actually see this in the training guide given to United States Forest and Park Rangers, because it is identified in there of what to do when you encounter a Bigfoot and how to properly behave in order to mitigate injury. You have to pass this training.
What a zag nut.
Yep. They talk about, you know, if you see one, to put your hands out away from your body, but palms down, crouch down just a little bit, and walk backward away from it until you feel you're at a good safe distance, and do not run.
Is this like a legit paperwork that exists?
100%. It's 100%. And they are required to know this, especially in the Pacific Northwest. That is part of the training. And it's,
now, is this one of those paperworks that exist, like the government has
the CDC zombie response you're talking about
for zombie apocalypse,
right?
Like they brainstorm this stuff just in case.
There's differing opinions. I would say, quite frankly,
I mean, better safe
it would
sorry.
Be totally arguable to say it's just a just in case shit kind of thing, which is reasonable. But at the same time,
if you encountered a Bigfoot,
I'd high five him. That's about time, bro. Come on out.
Here's this. What were those pens that had like the 8 different colors in them?
Oh yeah, the little clicker.
Yeah, like I don't know.
I'd give him one of those pens where you tip it over. It's a naked lady in a bikini.
But the idea is that, you know, the U.S. government's aware of these, but they don't want to recognize them because they would be considered endangered. And their territory is basically every forest that we log from. So they would have to cease the logging economy in the United States if they were to.
That actually does make a little bit of sense.
Yep. So it would be a huge hindrance to a significant part of our domestic economy if they were to do so, which I get. I do understand. But then you get into, you've probably never heard of this. This is rather fringe of the fringe, but it's a collection called the Miller Documents. Now, this is a box. It was 3 different boxes just full of paperwork recovered from this guy's retired medical doctor, uncle, I believe it was, who passed away when they were like clearing out his estate. And going through there, he talks about how it's got an old report from 1964 or 68 or something like that. Back in California, there was a big earthquake. They were picking up trees that had fallen across the road, and there was a fucking female Bigfoot crushed by a tree in the middle of a road that people had crowded up around, and they had recovered the body from it, and he was not the one to work on that particular medical report, but he had the findings from it of, them actually, I guess, performing a necropsy, if you will. And then it goes on to talk about how they recovered the 3 bodies from Texas after a wildfire. And then, it's just one thing after another. And at some point, the documents you find a listing of 8 different subspecies that were actually given taxonomy and naming from across the North America, showing different particular features that each subspecies would have, and even observations about how the ones toward the east are slightly more reliant on vegetation and running after prey if they're going to catch deer, whereas the ones in the Pacific Northwest will actually ambush by dropping out of a tree and onto a deer to take their prey. All kinds of shit like that. I think it's a YouTuber, Mountain Beast Mysteries. He went over them pretty well. That's a really phenomenal piece of work. If I say with everything, take it with a grain of salt, because obviously any document can be fraudulent, but it is very interesting to see how deep they go on that.
Oh man, we can go down the rabbit hole. Like I just feel I was just looking up here, and I mean to make it look like I was distracted, but there was a Netflix movie. I can't find it. I think it was Netflix, a documentary on. This was gonna. I should say this first, but I think your best bet, if we wanted to actually find a Bigfoot, or whatever you want to call it, is to go to the Pacific Northwest. And
they seem to have the closest, the best population density.
Yeah, the millions and millions of acres of huge trees where they could hide.
Well, yeah, it's the only non-tropical rainforest in the world is up there.
So
there's
the sightings in Washington State almost double every other state in the United States.
Right.
Yeah. There's just so much environment to use.
When you kind of and I want to get down to the brass tacks, and the older I get too, I have questions. Like this it's like aliens or UFOs. They've been around forever, but how come we never have one solid video? It's always some grainy, blotchy thing in the woods, or you had the couple things you wanted to put up here.
Yeah.
It was like a black blob in the woods. That's definitive. I'm not saying that.
Well, you could venture to say, so back in the 57, 58, 57, 59, that general time frame. Damn it, I wish I remembered more. But basically,
that's when the better footage came out, was back then.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they were talking about how there are phenomena in this world that must be kept from the general public to maintain order and avoid panic. Because when War of the Worlds came out, how many people just fucking murked themselves because they thought it was real?
Yeah, I mean, it was Orson Welles aired that on TV.
Yeah, and that was with him saying, "Oh, this is fake. This is just a story. No, don't get your." And then people just kept killing themselves because they thought it was the end of the world. So
yeah, he caused probably what, I don't know how many deaths in California.
It was between 300 and 500 people killed themselves that day. But it's to the point where, is it that you're not seeing any video because it's not being taken, or are you not seeing any video because the various governmental bodies have dedicated teams to keep an eye on that stuff and remove it and ensure that?
I think it's a little bit of both. If one more goddamn government agency tells me it's a weather balloon, my fucking head's gonna pop off its shoulders.
I'm gonna throw up a couple pictures here.
Go ahead.
Different things that have been caught, and I got to blow them up a little bit. But
and then again, you got to sort through the riffraff,
You always have
just,
to, do your due diligence.
I just always wondered why the government was do you really think if we're like, if you
Personally,
broke
I
into
think
us
that's a black bear.
softly-
Well, the guy who was taking these pictures found bear cubs, and
Yeah.
they thought that this might be a bear with mange. However,
enhance. It's a Bigfoot.
they have another
That would-
picture on the side of the road, and that does not look like a bear.
No, that does not.
That looks like a
Well,
little chimpanzee.
no,
or
yo,
something.
that is definitely a bear. Absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Well, right here,
100%.
looks like a bear.
So look at the heel shape. That heel
Okay.
shape, that is a bear heel. And so a lot of people don't realize it, but bears are actually pretty thin when you take away the fur. And this is a saturated bear. He has just gotten out of the water and he's looking down and away from the camera.
I've taken the fur off a bear, and it didn't look like that.
I've only ever seen bears in pictures. I've never ran into one.
We roasted bears.
But I mean, you
That's a young bear. If it's a bear, it's a young bear.
I can tell you
Yeah,
what
it's a young bear. So we have a black bear that stays on our property. We live on about 48 acres. And we call him Yogi because he's kind of an idiot.
Hey, boo-boo.
But Crystal will be walking the dog, and she was on the phone with me one time while she was walking the dog, and he fucking fell out of the tree and just about cracked his head open and just ran off. But like he's goofy as shit, okay? He's like no threat.
brain damage.
Yeah,
Falling out of trees.
probably. He's he's a little special these days.
Hey,
Um,
you guys! Look what I can do.
Boo-boo. Boo-boo.
So yeah, we've seen the bear a couple times, but and we get those around here every once in a while. But I would 100% say that's on the screen right now is definitely a bear.
We get a bear comes down the back of our property every once in a while. A family up top of the hill will call down, the bear's coming down the hill.
Oh, yeah.
We've had pictures of the cubs out back, and